Welcome back, Lady Gaga saying stop calling. So I'm speaking with Dr. Devra Davis. She's the author of the new book, Disconnect, The Truth About Cell Phone Radiation, What the Industry Has Done to Hide It, and How to Protect Your Family. And you can get more information on her website, ehtrust.org. So let's talk a little bit more about what the industry has done to hide it, aside from the fact that they're not willing to put the SAR number on the phone and let people know that, are they hiding research from us as well?
Well, in fact, the industry has taken an attack in the past to war game science, and I document in my new afterword for the paperback edition that I'll hope to come back and talk to you about in the fall. In 1994, when researchers showed that cell phone radiation could damage DNA in the brain, the industry did three things. First, they went to the researchers' university, Washington, and asked if they'd be fired. Then they wrote to NIH and asked if they'd be accused of fraud for misusing funds. Then they went to the journal that had accepted the article.
Stop it! I am busy right now.
But
you need socks on.
And Dr. Singh showing that cell phone radiation could cause the unraveling of DNA ultimately was published. And then industry hired another scientist to try to show the work was a fraud. That scientist, in fact, replicated the work. And when he persisted in publishing his work, he was defunded. So industry's approach in a memo that I will disclose in my afterward was to, quote, war game the science. There's no debate. That's what they did. I got the memo. It's been published before by Lewis Slusson in Microwave News. That strategy of war gaming the science has left us in the following situation. There is no serious independent research underway in the United States of America today on cell phone radiation. There is only one study currently being conducted by the National Toxicology Program that will be completed in 2014. It is a huge animal study. But aside from that, we have nothing going on. There's no monitoring. There's no surveillance of human impacts. If cell phones were a drug, they would be illegal because they've never been tested for safety, and there's no monitoring or surveillance for their impact right now.
That's amazing. Now, but other countries are doing research. Israel, France, yes. Germany.
Yes.
So why is that?
Well, the Israelis, as you know, are very sophisticated when it comes to radar. And in fact, cell phone radiation is exactly similar to radar. And they know a lot more about how to make safer technologies, and their government has issued warnings about cell phones for everyone, not just children, on their government website in Hebrew, and I've posted these warnings on our website at ehtrust.org. They recognize that cell phones are very helpful devices, but they need to be used in a safer way, and we all need to understand that towers have to be sited in a more responsible way, and that standards for towers in the United States can allow 1,000 times more radiation than the same towers that work just as well in Switzerland or Austria.
Now, what about ways to protect ourselves? What about these sleeves that are being created for cell phones? Do you think those
You know, I'm really not an expert on any of those devices. I'm sure some of them work, but the real issue is it shouldn't be my job to tell you what works or not.
Right.
I think we need a different government policy here, and we have actually filed a Freedom of Information Act request for the FCC to tell us why they've made changes in their website recently where they've reversed recommendations, for example, about buying lower SAR phones. They did that just conveniently to correspond to the California lawsuit. And there's been enormous pressure on the FCC to do the things that will help in that lawsuit for the Cellular Telecommunications Industry Association. Interestingly, legally, the CTIA actually does not have the standing to file that lawsuit. It's not an injured party. It's not a seller itself of the phone. We've recently issued memos filed by legal counsel that have pointed out that the CTIA is throwing a phony monkey wrench into San Francisco's right to know. And I'm really pleased that some of the mayoralty candidates for the city right now agree that this is really important. Recently, Gavin Newsom has weighed in because, as you know, he was the mayor when the right to know legislation first passed. And he remains firmly committed to the idea that people will use cell phones and they need to use them safely. and we want to give them information about safe practices. We have on our website a section of videos under Practice Safe Phone, as well as information about brain absorption, showing that children's brains absorb twice as much radiation as an adult. So this information people have a right to know. And we're hoping through work with you, with people in San Francisco, to make this more widely known.
That's fantastic. Can you talk a little bit about the Volco brain glucose study that was sort of controversial?
Right. Well, there's no controversy about it. Dr. Nora Volkoff is a psychiatrist and a PhD who's the director of the National Institute of Drug Abuse. She produced a stunning study published in the Journal of the American Medical Association. References to it can be found on our website. That study took a image of the brain when it was just doing nothing at all. And then it took an image of the brain 50 minutes after a cell phone was turned on next to the brain. There was no sound, it was just turned on. That study found a statistically significant alteration in brain metabolism of glucose. Glucose is the main fuel of the brain. You need glucose when you're thinking. What is the impact on the brain of the lifetime of having increased glucose in the brain from cell phone radiation? We know that diseases like Alzheimer's occur and you have basically too much sugar in the brain. We don't know whether cell phones could possibly be contributing to it, but there are a number of researchers who are quite concerned about this. The beauty of Volkoff's study was that she used an actual cell phone under experimental conditions where the persons being exposed were unaware whether the phone was turned on, looking for a signal from the tower or not. And there's no refutation of her work. The issue is, what does it mean? For the short term, it might be a good thing to have a little more glucose in the brain. But the long-term consequences of repeatedly increasing glucose in the brain is something nobody knows.
Right. It doesn't sound like a good thing.
It will accelerate cell growth.
Yes.
And it will, if there are cells that have already been primed to be abnormal, it will accelerate those as well.
Now, has there been any research done on Bluetooth headsets?
There's not that I am aware of. Bluetooth headsets substantially reduce your exposure. The problem is that they reduce your exposure, but if you keep the phone in your pocket on your body, you're going to be in big trouble.
Uh-huh. And are there any phones that you could recommend that have the lowest SAR ratings? Is that found on your website?
No, I don't make those recommendations.
Uh-huh. So people, if they really want to know, because it's not going to be found on in the phone before they get it, they need to go to the website.
They need to search for this information online before they buy a phone. Now, it ought to be easier to get this information. And frankly, Beth, the safest phone is the one that you don't hold next to your body. I'm talking to you on a landline now in a very nice bank in Sebastopol that has let me use it, and I've got about 3 more minutes. Mm-hmm. They understood that I, of course, would not do an interview with you on my cell phone.
Right.
I use my cell phone as an answering machine. The safest way to use a cell phone is not to have it on all the time, to use it with a headset. There are a variety of headsets that are safer, but don't keep the phone on your body when you're using it. Distance is your friend. Hold it in your hand, put it in a fanny pack, put it on a desk. Just don't keep it on and on your body.
That's good advice. And, I know you have to run. So any last words of advice for us aside from those tips? Anything to do? How can we help change the government policy about,
Well, right now in San Francisco, you can show up May 1st at the University of San Francisco meeting where Mark Leno and a number of other people are going to be talking about the San Francisco law and seeking support. And you can support people there at the University of San Francisco. You can support the San Francisco effort through the California Brain Tumor Association. And as you know, people need to get involved and get informed, because that is what our democracy rests on, the freely given consent of the governed, who are informed about hazards, and so they can make decisions as they make through the information you're providing about healthier homes, healthier schools, healthier gardens, and healthier brains. And your brain is going to be healthier if you don't bombard it with microwave radiation from a cell phone. So please look at our website, environmentalhealthtrust.org. We have, in fact, under downloads on our homepage, you can download safety pamphlets, including the doctor's advice to patients and their families that has been signed by some of the world's top neurosurgeons, Charlie Teo from Australia, Kevin O'Neill, who is the Chief of Neurosurgery at Imperial College of London, have signed on to the notion that people have a right to know how to use a cell phone safely. That pamphlet includes the Volkoff study, it includes the studies on sperm count, and it has 5 simple things you can do to protect yourself and your loved ones so that you use a cell phone in a more responsible manner.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Devra.
Thanks. All the best to you, Beth.
Okay, same
Bye-bye.
here. Bye. Well, we've been speaking to Dr. Devra Davis. She's a renowned scientist and a journalist and the head of the Environmental Health Trust, a nonprofit devoted to identifying and controlling environmental health hazards. And again, her newest book is called Disconnect, The Truth About Cell Phone Radiation, What the Industry Has Done to Hide It, and How to Protect Your Family. I think she's given us some great tips today. And I know that, I, for one, only use my cell phone at a distance, on speaker. And I've known people who've used their cell phones right next to their beds as alarm clocks, which is kind of horrifying because they're being exposed to that all night long. And when you're sleeping, it's so important to have a safe environment where you're not being bombarded by not only cell phone radiation, but the other electromagnetic fields that you might be exposed to in your bedroom. Devra didn't even talk about it, but in addition to cell phone radiation, there is radiation coming from our wireless, our cordless phones, rather, the ones, they're called DECT technology. So make sure that I've removed my cordless phone from my bedroom. So make sure if you look at your phone, see if it says DECT, D-E-C-T, you may want to think about getting a landline phone instead or just removing it from, especially where you're sleeping. So again, Devra's website is ehtrust.org. And I want to thank everybody so much for listening today. And I also want to tell you that there's a special offer for Supernatural Mom readers. That's my website, supernaturalmom.com. And if you sign up for on my website to get my free e-newsletter, you'll be given a code and you can get 25% off EO products for their online, on their website. So all of EO products are free of sulfates, parabens, synthetic fragrances, and other chemicals. They have really great stuff. And so just go to supernaturalmom.com and sign up for my newsletter. You have access to that code. And also a special promotion for Mother's Day, EO is giving away a $50 gift baskets to moms. So just go to their website, eoproducts.com, and look for that. They're giving away 5 $50 gift baskets to moms. And take advantage of my expertise where I come to your home and help you turn it into a safe haven. I offer a one-of-a-kind personalized service to protect you and your family from the invisible toxins in your home. Things, I go into your food and your personal care products and your EMFs. I have EMF detectors to find out how you're being exposed, and take a look at your mattresses and everything that could possibly cause fatigue, allergies, asthma, and other health problems. So email me at beth@supernaturalmom.com for more information. Well, thanks again for listening. For podcasts and more information on my show, visit yoursupernaturallife.com. You can also download the show on iTunes. And my book, Supernatural Home, endorsed by Deepak Chopra, Ralph Nader, Dr. Joe Mercola, is found on Amazon or on my website, supernaturalmom.com. See you here next week. I'm Beth Greer.